Hello everyone, welcome to China. My name is David. In this video, we're going to talk about the second coronavirus outbreak in Beijing, how serious it is, and why it will probably be getting worse in China. According to Beijing Municipal Health Commission, this second wave of COVID-19 in Beijing started about 2 weeks ago. From June the 11th to the 21st, there were a total of 236 new cases in these 11 days. That's about 21 new cases per day on average. Based on the number alone, Beijing doesn't seem so bad compared with hundreds of new data cases in Toronto or New York City. But if we look at the restrictions being enacted by Beijing authorities, this outbreak is probably much more serious than what the reported number shows. Beijing closed Xinfadi Food Market, which provides more than 90% of Beijing's fruits and vegetables according to the state media. And it had locked down 29 residential communities across the city by June the 16th. Let's have a look at how rigorous this restriction is. Wang Du, who lives in one of the communities under lockdown, said residents couldn't leave the compound for groceries and had to order food online or buy from a truck that came to the neighborhood once a day. And a local media, Sina Finance, covered an 83-year-old lady who lived alone in such a lockdown community. Of course, this article is to show how helpful the volunteers are, but one detail in the article, saying the son of this old lady couldn't even come to visit her because of the lockdown, also shows how critical the situation is. Therefore, based on the history of China playing down the pandemic severity, plus the current contradiction between the reported numbers and the actual reactions, there is no doubt that Beijing is downplaying the severity again. The reason of this shady behavior is pretty straightforward if you know a little Chinese political background. In China, face-saving reports for the highest leader are always more important than the actual fact. In one sentence, President Xi is always correct. When Xi demanded a harmonious Chinese New Year at the beginning of this January, 8 whistleblowers of the pandemic were silenced. When Xi claimed that everything was under control in February, Chen Qiushi, a citizen who reported the actual situation, was detained and out of contact since then. When Xi ordered reopening of economy in March, people were sent back to work even if the risk was still high. And right now in June, just after the publication of white paper claiming the success in fighting against the pandemic, of course no Beijing municipal official is bold enough to report the actual affected number. To be honest, I'm quite pessimistic about how China is going to deal with the second wave. Xi's demands are conflicting with each other. In case of coronavirus, he has to start recovering economy at the same time cutting all channels for virus transmission. It's not achievable at all. I mean, for most other countries, the top priority of the government is to flatten the curve by sacrificing the economy for a while, and then reopen the business after the risk gets lower. But in China, municipal governments are asked to achieve both goals at the same time, and the local officials are severely punished if they fail either of them. So what they choose to do is to reopen business immediately, because that can be easily verified, and then cover up the virus cases as long as they can. When the disease gets out of control, all they can do then is to downplay the number and stall for more time. If the disease dies down naturally, everybody is happy. But if it gets worse, this manipulation provides local officials the longest time before they get punished. So after understanding this rationale behind it, reopening business while downplaying numbers is actually the most reasonable set of maneuver for local officials. From this perspective, it has little to do with the moral standards of individuals, but rather the system design is way off base from the very beginning. The second reason of my pessimism is that China government never learns a constructive lesson from previous failures. I mean, they do learn, but in a retrogressive way. For example, during the time of SARS in 2003, state-run media in China were still allowed to cover some negative news questioning the government. But for COVID-19 now, no state-run media dares to report anything negative about central government. And as we know, the individuals who reported the truth during the first wave have been detained. I'm afraid that the facts for the second wave would be a total mystery to the outside world. Also, the SARS whistleblower Jiang Yanyong managed to force the government to correct some of its mistakes. But the famous COVID-19 whistleblower Li Wenliang was silenced immediately and passed away a few weeks later. So if Chinese Communist Party has learned anything from previous experience, It may have learned how to control the people in a stricter way, but it didn't learn anything constructive for sure. To sum up, the second wave of coronavirus in Beijing, China is probably much more serious than being reported, and is likely to get worse and worse because of the way the government is organized. I feel sorry about the people living there. God bless Chinese people. Once again, thanks for watching the video. I will see you guys next time.